Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, man? I hope you guys are doing great today, man. You know what? My day's going just fine. Well, check this out. If you would please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict still suffers, for those of us who are still bound down to some sort of struggle that keeps us from moving forward in this toxic life that we live in, man. So yeah, if you would please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get this thing started. Well, check this out, man. I guess we'll just dive right in, right? Well, today what I wanted to do was I'm going to share something with you guys out of the daily meditation, and we'll what I'll do is I'll read it, and then I will give you my opinion, and we'll kind of get into a little bit of a discussion on what it's talking about and what it means, and how you can reflect that, and how you can probably maybe work out some kinks to your recovery and just your daily life. You know what I mean? Doesn't have to be just recovery based type things. You know what I mean? This is for everyday living. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let me get these things on so I can read, because I can't read a dang thing without these, right? So check this out. Today it talks about the end of loneliness. And what it says here, it says, with the love that I am shown in the rooms, I have no excuse for loneliness. And goes on to say, addiction is a lonely disease. We may be surrounded by people, but sooner or later, our addiction drives a wedge between us and our closest loved ones. Many of us are driven to Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever, any 12-step program you want to put in that line there, and by a desperate sense of loneliness. And though we may approach the rooms with caution and suspicion, we are welcomed with a hug and a smile and a warm keep coming back. One of the old cliches to many of these rooms that you go to. And it goes on to say, this may be the first place where we have felt welcome in a long time, or in a long while. We watch other members talking and laughing, leaving the meetings in groups for more talk at the local coffee shop and so on. We wonder if we too could become part of such a loving bunch. Our pattern of isolation can make it difficult for us to join in. Over time, however, we begin to feel a part of rather than apart from. Soon, when we walk into the rooms, we feel at home. We begin to make friends, and our lives start to change. In these rooms, it teaches us to overcome our isolation. Through our first tentative friendships formed in our home groups, we start to find that making friends isn't hard. And a sense of belonging comes when we share ourselves with others. And, just for today, I am thankful for the friendships of my higher power, that my higher power has given me in these rooms. Because of them, I am lonely no more. And, when I read this, it to me, resonates with me a little bit. Well, not even a little bit. It resonates with me because I understand exactly what that talks about. You know what I mean? To me, it takes me straight back to the very first time I went into one of these rooms. You know what I mean? And for me, it was a long time ago, man. You know what I'm saying? I have been, just to give you guys kind of this little idea of my journey, I personally have been involved in a 12-step program since 1987, man. Can you believe that? That's how long I've been in and out of these, so-called, rooms, as they call them, you know what I mean? And every time I go back, it's always the same way. You know what I'm saying? You always get the love, you always get the hugs, you always get that acceptance. Like, dude, you know what? No matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, no matter what has happened in your life, when you come here, you're back home. When you come here, you're back with your, it's to me, it kind of reminds me of that, of my military days. You know what I mean? When I was in the military, that was one of the big things, was that camaraderie feeling that you could depend on somebody. You know what I'm saying? No matter what the situation was, you're never going to be left behind. You know what I'm saying? No matter what the situation is, somebody always got your back, dude. And for me to get that sense of safety, you know what I'm saying? That safety net when you walk back into these rooms, that you know that your life is about to change. You know what I'm saying? And I listen to me, I like it. You know what I mean? It just brings back a lot of these emotions and thoughts and things that I remember from the very first days of taking part in these rooms and these 12-step programs. You know what I'm saying? And I like this part here that it goes on to say that, for many of us, we get into this isolation mode. You know what I'm saying? You drive these wedges between people that you love. You know what I'm saying? And it's not because you're purposely doing it. Sometimes it may seem like that from the outside looking in, you know what I'm saying? But for you, that you're going through this thing and you have this problem and you don't know how to fix it, it can be a real mess. And so instead of dealing with the mess, a lot of us, no matter what your addiction is, or no matter what your trauma is, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? A lot of us tend to deal with it. We feel and we think that we deal with it better if we're isolated. You know what I'm saying? And in that isolation is where, when it's isolation, it's just you and mind. You know what I'm saying? When it's you and mind, that is a recipe for disaster if your mind is in that dark place at that time. Because when you're in that place, in that darkness, no matter what it is, it's shutdown time. It's shutdown time. The vulnerability curtains come up. Nobody's coming into this space. And when that happens, you waller in this mindset of darkness. You know what I'm saying? And when you're wallowing in a mindset of darkness, man, is it tough to get past adversity. Because you're not looking, you're too delusionized with all these things that your mental capacity is telling you that's wrong and what can fix it. You know what I'm saying? And for me personally, when I got into these situations and, I didn't want to feel the trauma of childhood or the trauma of heartache or grief or whatever the deal was. For me, the go-to was go use, because when I used, I didn't have to feel none of that stuff. For me, that was the antidote. And, had I known at an early age that, years later I would be this addictive personality type, then maybe I would have done something different. But, I personally, at a very, very young age, knew that I could mask emotional feelings with a drink of alcohol and any type of drugs, you know what I mean? And I might have mentioned this a few times in other episodes, but I took my first drink of alcohol when I was, a kid. Like, I was a baby kid. And, I could remember being in elementary school drinking. And I was drinking even before that with these stories that my grandfather from Mexico would tell me, these stories of how I would say things and love on people because I had sipped too much of my dad's beer or just beers laying around, you know what I'm saying? So I had consumed alcohol at a very, very young age. And I didn't know about the masking feelings until I was about, 6 or 7. And then about that same age, I smoked my very first marijuana joint, and man, that was it for me. I understood that if I took these two things into my body, if I consumed these two things, then I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any of the trauma feelings that I was going through at that young age. You know what I'm saying? And gosh, so it's I could definitely resonate with this whole topic of today in the loneliness, because as I got older, that's exactly what happened. You know what I mean? I became this sociable, party person, because I not only consumed the drugs and stuff, but I also supplied them. You know what I'm saying? So that was just I was just doomed from the get-go, man, because I decided to live a certain lifestyle, right? And so I can remember, man, I can remember the days when I knew something was wrong, and I was secluding myself to these motel rooms and to, just being in the bathroom for a long time or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And I knew that something was wrong, and it finally, until I figured out that maybe I need some help, and went into my first treatment center. Then lo and behold, that wasn't my first time. You know what I'm saying? When I landed in my first treatment center, that I thought that would be the last one, and it wasn't. You know what I mean? And I wound up going to a few of them. You know what I'm saying? And so I understand how this loneliness thing works, and how it's really easy to fall into that trap. You know what I'm saying? And by going to these rooms, man, was it an eye-opener, and was it a very, very, very helpful lifeline? You know what I'm saying? The lifeline in those rooms are they're there for the taking. You know what I'm saying? But I guess the fine line here is that you got to keep going back. You know what I'm saying? You can't just go one time and expect to get fixed. And you can't go one time or multiple times without starting to, at some point, start bringing the curtain down of vulnerability, and being to start having a mind that's teachable. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately that's what you're going to have to do. And ultimately that is the end goal, is to change your thought process. You know what I'm saying? And because you have to. That's the only way to get fixed, is by changing your mental capacity and your mental thought process. And the only way to do that is by feeding it wisdom. And in the Buddhist practice, we call that prajnaparamita, man. You practice the prajnaparamita. It's a wisdom that you take to purify your mind. In turn, there you purify your soul and your karmic energy, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very cool stuff. And also, it goes on to say here that our pattern of isolation can make it difficult to join in. You know what I'm saying? And I could remember, going to these meetings, and sometimes they were court mandated, and I'm just sitting outside the meeting not wanting to go in because I know no one, and I'm embarrassed to walk in, or you don't want to be the focal point of attention, and you don't want, okay, what's your name, who are you, yada yada. I can remember sitting in these rooms, man, in the early days, and I would never say that I was an addict, alcoholic, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because I just didn't feel that was me, you know what I mean? I was just going because I had to. And, but, later on, as I kept having to go back, it finally one day the light clicks on, you know what I'm saying? And I figure out that if I want any type of change in my life, there has to be some vulnerability. There has to be some willing to be truthful, honest with yourself, and willing to new things, to new ideas, to new change, to be teachable, to a new way of living, because your way ultimately hasn't gotten you very far, because you're still coming back. And you're still going to these treatment centers and this and that, and the list goes on, right? But So I just, in that last part here that says that I'm thankful for the friendships my higher power has given me in these rooms. Because of them, I am lonely no more. And you know what? I had a lot of friends, dude. You know what I'm saying? That to me was no problem to have friends. But even though I had this whole entourage of friends, I still was lonely, man. I still felt like I was alone in the world. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I was just living. I had to live a certain way and act a certain way so that nobody would know that I was hurting. Nobody would know that I was a defected person in a sense. And I was a master at it, dude. You know what I'm saying? I was a master at it because number one, I stayed healthy in eating habits, and I exercised a lot, and you know, I worked and ran my business and had this whole facade of this person who had it going on, you know what I mean? Who not only had this business and it was making money and you know was physically fit and then I on the side selling all these things that I shouldn't have been selling, you know what I'm saying? Living a different lifestyle that I shouldn't have been involved in, and it just spiraled, man. It spiraled down to this to wind up lost, man. And you know, I wind up lost. I wind up homeless. I wind up with no business, no family, and on the street. You know what I mean? The only thing I was doing was, you know, selling drugs to do drugs, and it got tough. You know what I'm saying? But I'm grateful for the rooms, man, because of these rooms, I was able to get my life back. And then to not only that, but to start sharing my life with somebody else who's, you know, like the people who watch the videos, because ultimately that's the purpose, is to do the service work and to help somebody else. You know, because it's only right for me to do this if somebody has helped me. You know what I'm saying? And if I could get out of that lifestyle, if I could stop this habit and live a lifestyle to help other people, and I give credit to the people of the rooms, and I give credit to my practice of spirituality, man, especially the folks over at the Buddhist temple, because that's where I found my connection. You know what I'm saying? Over at the Dharma recovery meetings and practicing the Buddhist spiritual teachings. You know what I'm saying? And that's my journey right now. You know what I'm saying? And I like it, dude. You know what I mean? That's what keeps me from going back out. And I'll continue to do it, and I'll continue to share the things that have helped me, because they may help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to kind of make this quick video because I hadn't made one in a few, I guess it's last week, I guess, and I've been kind of really busy. I have a lot of things that I'm doing with these extra therapy groups that I'm going to, and I just entered another therapy session doing it's another guitar group that I'm doing. That's where I got this guitar right here, man. It's through the VA, and the VA got this thing called Challenge America, and it's for veterans, and they put you in this program. They send you a cool guitar like this, man. It's brand new cool guitar that I just got yesterday, man. So I'm excited about that, and you know, I'm excited because you get to, it's a retreat, an online retreat that is of mindfulness practice. And during this retreat, you're gonna learn a song on the guitar, and well, you're actually gonna write your own song, the lyrics and the music. And at the end of the retreat, the composer that's facilitating the retreat will sing all the veterans who participate. They'll sing their songs at the end of the retreat. So once I'm done with it, I'll send you guys a link so y'all can tune in to my concert, man, and hear my song that I've come up with, man. So I'm excited about that. But so it's another way, dude. It's another thing that I do to keep myself in this life of recovery. You know what I'm saying? And it's through programs like that. You know what I mean? Because they all don't have to be 12-step based programs, man. Like this one that I'm doing here, it's just a music therapy group. You know what I mean? But it's based on mindfulness and mindset change and that sort of thing, which is really cool. It's almost like MBSR practice, which is a really cool thing to do. And it's all about meditation, man, and mind thinking, breathing techniques, and meditation process, because it's like I said, ultimately the end result is to stay in recovery and stay in this different pattern of this habitual way that we are, that we live in, instead of doing it with a negative, and dark mindset. It's doing it on a positive and divine and energetic karmic energy. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a mindset, a change that you have to be able to be teachable and honest with yourself, because only self knows what self needs to move past any adversity that it is that you're involved in or that you're dealing with in your life. You know what I mean? Nobody else knows you better than you. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, but anyway, I guess that's all I got for you guys today, man. I hope that you guys enjoyed the topic and the things that I had to share with you guys. And I guess if you would please at this time, give me a thumbs up, shoot me a comment, hit that subscribe button, man. You know what I mean? If you could, just so that when you do hit that subscribe button, it doesn't cost you a thing, man. It don't cost you a thing, but you know what? It'll be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, trauma, depression, anger, sadness, grief, all those types of things, my friends, because I have dealt with all of those things that at one point in time in my life, and guess what, man? I know a way out. And my way out could be your way out. So I guess until the next time, man, on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.